Gordon, hello again, it's me Chaz back with another video. This is for the first time my CAF World Cup qualifying review of match day 5. These videos are gonna kind of be similar to what I did with the UEFA Zone World Cup videos. Since there's a total of 9 groups and 6 teams in each group, 6 nations, I'm gonna split these videos up into 3. So this video will focus on group A, B and C. The next group or the next video will focus on group D, E and F, and the final video will focus G, H and I. In the CAF, this will be the first time that a total of 9 nations and a possible 10 will be able to compete at the World Cup from this region. That is a record now. The top team or top nation in each group will qualify, and the second best teams, the 4 second best teams, will compete in a mini tournament to see who will be the one nation from the CAF to compete in the Interconfederations playoff for another opportunity to compete at the 2026 World Cup. Most of the time I'll start off with the first group. It's Group A, so I'm going to start there. Group A has Egypt in. Egypt is the very first nation from Africa, from the CAF, to ever compete at the World Cup. They competed at the second World Cup in 1934 in Italy, and they did actually have the opportunity to compete at the first World Cup in 1930, but because of a storm in the Mediterranean Sea, they were unlucky and they missed the trip to Uruguay. The other nations in this group: Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone, Ethiopia, Guinea-Bissau and Djibouti. Egypt is the only nation in this group to ever compete at a World Cup before. Alright, so let's get on with the matches. Sierra Leone, they played Guinea-Bissau. Sierra Leone won their game 3-1. First goal came in the 90th minute. Poor defending from Guinea-Bissau, from Babacar Fati. Back pass there, and Mustafa Bandu made them pay for it. 1-0 to Sierra Leone in the very first half. Second half, just after the hour mark, Musa Camara made it 2-0 for Sierra Leone. Another gifted goal. Guinea-Bissau do get a goal back though. 7 minutes later, a strike just outside the box from Tambaya Montero scored, but right at the end, 6 minutes into injury time, Ibrahim Touré made it 3-1 to Sierra Leone. Solid win for Sierra Leone here. I should mention though, match day 6, they do lose a big game to Egypt, but are still in the running to get that second spot to get into round 2. For Guinea-Bissau, March wasn't good for them in the World Cup qualifiers. They lose their next game to Burkina Faso, and they've only won 1 of their World Cup qualifying matches. And as I just mentioned, Burkina Faso, they defeated Djibouti 4-1. Jose Tirenda Bigo scored in the 12th minute, giving Burkina Faso the lead. Bertrand Traoré scored in the 33rd minute, doubling the lead for Burkina Faso. That is now his 3rd goal for Burkina Faso during the World Cup qualifying. His very first goal was in the opening game against Guinea-Bissau, which was an equaliser. So that's 2-0 for Burkina Faso in the first half against Djibouti. Mohamed Zougana, 3 minutes into the second half, makes it 3-0 for Burkina Faso, and 20 minutes later, Lassina Traoré scored as 4-0. Djibouti do get a consolation right at the end, a penalty was given and Samuel Akimbinu scored it. Again, just a consolation. Burkina Faso, great win for them there. And they're in a really good position to try and get that second spot, to get into the second round. And they're not that far off Egypt, but there's only a few games left to be played. For Djibouti at the end of March this year, so after match day 6, it was impossible for them to qualify directly, and at best they could get into the second round spot. Okay, the final match in this group was between Ethiopia and Egypt, where Egypt defeated Ethiopia 2-0. First goal came from Mo Salah, MD5 with a really good pass there, and Salah does what he does, finishes it off. That goal was scored in the 33rd minute. 9 minutes later, good combination from both Salah and Zizou to make it 2-0 for Egypt over Ethiopia in the first half. No goals were scored in the second. Profitable win there for Egypt. And Mo Salah is currently the top scorer of the CAF World Cup qualifying. Egypt currently top of their group. They look like they will qualify for their 4th World Cup. Just need a few more wins. For Ethiopia, didn't win a game till match day 6, where they beat Djibouti by 6 goals to 1. Still puts them in a decent position to at least see if they can get that second round spot, but there's still a lot of competition in that spot compared to the top spot where Egypt currently are in this group. Alright, that was Group A. We're now going to move on to Group B. Alright, so the nation, you have DR Congo, who first competed at the World Cup in 1974 as Zaire, but since then haven't competed at the World Cup. Senegal are also in this group, who competed at the World Cup for the first time in 2002 and had a very impressive run where they reached the quarterfinals. They have qualified for the last 2 World Cups back in 2018 and in 2022. Both Sudan and South Sudan are also in this group. Mauritania is also in this group, as well as Togo, who competed at the World Cup one time. That was back in 2006, where Germany was the host. Since then, they haven't competed at the World Cup. We're going to start with a game that took place between DR Congo and South Sudan, which ended in a 1-0 win for DR Congo. The first and only goal of this game was scored 3 minutes into injury time in the first half by Theo Bongonda. That's his first since his opening goal against Mauritania in the opening game of their World Cup qualifying. DR Congo will go on to win their next game against Mauritania again, so that's 2 wins against them. Both 2-0 scorelines. DR Congo in a great position to qualify for the World Cup for their 2nd time in history, so this is really looking good for them. For South Sudan, on the other hand, they are yet to win a game. With that said, on match day 6, where I will talk about later in another video, they do get a last minute equaliser against Sudan. We're going to move on to the next match that took place in this group. That was between Togo and Mauritania, which ended in a 2-2 draw. Only 4 minutes in, Togo took the lead. Thibaut Cléder scored a goal there. And that's 1-0 in the first half for Togo. Aboukari Koita scored in the 52nd minute for Mauritania to equalise. And there's a lot of celebrations here because that was actually their first goal during this World Cup qualifying campaign. and they managed to take the lead a few minutes later. Abdallah Mahmoud scored in the 55th minute, giving Mauritania a shocking lead, 2-1. But in the 69th minute, Kevin Denke scored. That's 2-2. Both of these nations really didn't need a draw from this game. They needed a win here. Gets a bit worse for them. They both lose their next games to Senegal and Congo. Togo loses to Senegal. Mauritania loses to DR Congo. And at the end of match day 6, again I will talk about it later, Mauritania would not be able to qualify directly to the World Cup from this group. Okay, the final game in this group was between Sudan and Senegal, which ended in a 0-0 draw. I did actually watch this game. I did check it out live when I had the chance. I think I was taking the train back from work. Very frustrating game for Senegal. They did have their chances, but Sudan did well to keep it level, 0-0. That said, by the end of match day 6, Sudan and Senegal do end up being just a point behind DR Congo. So it's all to play for in this group. Alright, time to discuss the final group, and that's Group C. Final group in this video anyway. Group A, B and C, that's what we're discussing. Alright. So in this group we have South Africa, who is the first and only nation from Africa to ever host the World Cup. They hosted the 2010 World Cup. The only other nation in this group to have competed at the World Cup is Nigeria. Nigeria did miss out in the 2022 World Cup. Prior to then, they did qualify for the other 3 World Cups. That is 2010, 2014 and 2018. And looking back, trying to get back into the World Cup, especially with more positions up for grabs. The other nations in this group are Rwanda, Benin, Lesotho and Zimbabwe. Alright, let's start with the match between Rwanda and Nigeria, which ended in a 2-0 win for Nigeria. Both goals coming from Victor Osimhen. And both of the goals were scored in the first half, 11 minutes in. Lookman, good cross in there from a free kick. And Osimhen finished it off. And then in the 45th minute or so, 3 minutes into injury time, Victor Osimhen runs it down. Really nice chip there. That's 2-0 for Nigeria over Rwanda. Shockingly for Nigeria, this was actually their first win during this World Cup qualifying campaign. For Rwanda, they really did need a win here. That would have put them in such a great position right behind South Africa. Unfortunately, they lost this one and then drew with Lesotho, which cost them a few points. Nigeria, though they did well, did get their first win. They end up drawing against Zimbabwe extremely late. Regardless, still Nigeria picked up their first win. May give them more chance of qualifying. For Rwanda, though they themselves didn't have a great march, they're still in second spot to try and qualify at least for the second round. Alright, we've got another 2-2 draw, this time in Group C. Zimbabwe 2, Benin 2. This match, though, was Zimbabwe's home game. The match was actually played in South Africa in the Moses Mabhida Stadium. This stadium was one of the stadiums that hosted a few games at the 2010 World Cup, including the match between Spain and Germany. That was the semi-final match where Spain won 1-0. But back in March 2025, it was the stadium to hold the match between Zimbabwe and Benin in CAF World Cup qualifiers. Again, 2-2. Benin was leading 2-0 in the first half. Goals from Steve Maui in the 12th minute, and Doku in the 35th minute gave Benin the lead. A few minutes before the end of the first half, Marshall Munetsi scored, making it 2-1. So that's one goal back for Zimbabwe. And then just a minute before the hour mark, Knowledge Muzona would equalise for Zimbabwe. That's 2-2. Zimbabwe have no wins at all. They did well to come back though. And they even managed to come back again on match day 6 where they get a draw against Nigeria. So they're still holding on. I mean, they still even have a chance to qualify from this group automatically, but I highly doubt it. It would be a miracle. But again, they still got a bigger chance to finish second in the group, but still need to start picking up wins. This was a missed opportunity for Benin to throw away a 2-0 lead, especially against the bottom team in the group. Very bad there. And they would go on to lose against South Africa next, on match day 6. So, not the best month back in March for Benin if they are going to qualify for their first World Cup. The final match in this group that I'm going to discuss is the game between South Africa and Lesotho, which ended in a 2-0 win for South Africa. An interesting fact, Lesotho is actually surrounded by South Africa. So that like the nation is right in the middle, or not the middle, but it's right there, and actually it's all surrounded by South Africa. I thought that was quite interesting. One of the few nations that are kind of like that, Lesotho. I think the other one where I have been to before is the Vatican City, which is surrounded by Italy. That's a good stay. If you ever go to Rome, I recommend it. But anyway, South Africa and Lesotho. 2-0 win for South Africa, putting them in a great position to qualify for another World Cup. Both goals were scored in the second half. First goal out on the hour mark from Mofo King. Good goal there. 4 minutes later, Adams scores, Jaden Adams, after his second attempt there. That's 2-0 for South Africa. South Africa go on to win their next game. They're in a really good position to qualify, as I mentioned, for another World Cup. Just a few more wins to go. Lesotho's not in a bad position here. Definitely dropped points, so not the best month for them in March, but they still have a chance to at least qualify in the second place spot for the second round of the CAF World Cup qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup. Alright, so that's done. This was my match day 5 of the CAF World Cup qualifiers for Group A, B and C. Thanks for watching, listening, appreciate it as usual, and bye.